I struggle with coming out to my family, especially because I grew up in a very Christian household. My mother is Catholic and my father is Protestant, and they have very serious views on LGBT. I mean, they don't have very hateful views on it, but they just wouldn't feel happy if I was part of it.
My ex-husband, he knew about my sexuality, but he never really understood it. And when we broke up, he took it very seriously and very hard, and he never completely understood it because he can't really grasp the meaning of being bisexual, of me having relationships or love interest for another woman. So he never really completely understood that, and he never really respected that.
Ik ben geboren in Steenwijkerwold. Wat is mijn geloofsovertuiging? Ik ben een beleden christen en ik ben een messiaanse jood. Ik ben homoseksueel. Ik ben eerst getrouwd geweest. Ik heb 2 kinderen. Ik ben gescheiden.
My name is Jodanko. I'm originally from Kenya. I'm 19 years old. And I identify as bisexual.
I'm Shayla. I am from Brazil and I moved to the Netherlands 5 years ago. I am 35 years old and I am bisexual.
My name is Jung. I'm from Vietnam, but I have left the country when I was 16, and since then I have been living abroad. At that time I was already well aware of my sexuality, so knowing that I'm coming to Amsterdam, the gay capital of Europe, made me even more excited. So the fact that I know that I will be more accepted for my sexuality in Amsterdam did play a bit of a role in my decision, but not too much.
I was fully aware that I was bisexual by my early 20s. Because it took me that long to understand what is to be bisexual and also to understand what I was feeling.
Weet je worstelt er enorm mee, want ja, je weet al dat je, nou voordat ik ging trouwen, wist ik al dat ik op mannen viel en mijn gevoelens naar mannen ging. En toch durf je niet naar buiten en toch ga je een bepaalde weg, sla je in. En dat was goed, ik ben getrouwd, ik heb 2 kinderen, weet je, ik heb een leuke tijd gehad. Maar er mist iets, er borrelt iets in je en je kunt het niet wegdrukken. Weet je hebt je eigen gevoelens en als je uit de kast komt is het open. Want ik ben daar eigenlijk heel open in en heel, ja, weet je, ik ben 1 open boek, laat ik het zo vertellen. Ik ga er geen geheim van maken. En ja, weet je hebt die gevoelens zelf, die kun je niet wegdrukken. Maar die ervaren andere mensen ook van jou, van mij. En ook mijn gezin en ook natuurlijk ook mijn familie. En hoe hebben mijn familie dat ervaren toen ik uit de kast kwam? Eigenlijk, ja, heel blij. Eigenlijk heel warm ontvangen.
My family knows about my sexuality, and recently, I think last year, I openly talked to them about it because I'm in a relationship with a woman and I introduced her to my family. And I was very scared of this situation because I didn't know how they would react, and I grew up in this very repressing culture, not necessarily from my family, but the culture where I was. But they were very understanding, and even if sometimes they don't really understand the concept of being bisexual, but they respect my choice.
I was not out when I was in Vietnam at all, because at that time I was still not very comfortable with with coming out to people, I was still afraid that I would be judged for my sexuality, especially because I'm from Vietnam, and in our culture, getting married is quite like it's sort of obligation of children to get married from their parents' perspective. So very often my parents would ask me like, hey, how's your love life? Are you dating someone? Why are you not dating anyone? And I keep telling lies after lies to them about why I'm not dating any girls, stuff like that. So at one point I was very frustrated with having to tell all the lies. Then I decided, okay, I need to come out. And then the first person that I came out to was my best friend in Vietnam. And then I came out to my sister. And then the next person was my mom. And that was a bit more emotional because, well, you know, like all parents have certain expectations of their children. And well, I mean, being gay is not like the easiest thing on the planet to be. Being accepted by the society, you probably have a much harder time. And that's, of course, not what my mom wants for me in life. So when I come out to her, she was a bit upset. But she was upset about how life is going to treat me, how other people are going to see me, and not really upset about the fact that I'm gay.
I came out to my friends, but not in a very dramatic way, and they reacted very casually about it. I was nervous about telling them because it actually came out in a conversation once, and they found out that I was like into both guys and women, and they were just like, oh, okay, yeah, because they kind of just predicted it. They could sense it off of me. So I didn't feel like any kind of weird energy around them. It was very casual. My family doesn't know at all, so I haven't told them.
I grew up with a lot of impressions that was very negative to be LGBT, and I had an uncle who was a transsexual, and he was very much discriminated by my family, and he was the symbol of everything that was wrong. And I grew up very scared of that possibility, and often I would question myself, am I by any chance lesbian? And any time that I had this question in my mind, I would feel very scared and just push it away and didn't want to think about it anymore. I had to suppress a lot, and especially during my teen age, I was all the time trying to validate myself and trying to prove to myself that I was straight.
My sexuality influenced my childhood, not in a very large way, but definitely like if I think back to like my first memories, it would be of me like being into, let's say, a girl in my class, and I didn't understand it because when you're young, you don't really understand it. And a lot of people around me would also talk about, like mostly the adults, because kids didn't really care, but the adults would talk about, oh, you know, how wrong it is to be this and that, and oh, the LGBT, how disgraceful that is. And I just wouldn't understand because it didn't seem correct in my worldview. My parents are heavily influenced by their culture and by their religion. In their generation, it was very strict and very straightforward, and you were put in a box, and it's their way of life, so it's completely different from mine. There was a time when America had announced that they had legalized marriage, and they came and they asked me about it, like, how do I feel about it? And I was like, oh, I'm okay with it, like, it's fine. And they were just so in their ways and talking about how in Kenyan culture, like, this would never ever happen, because in their beliefs are so strong, they don't know how to feel about it. If by some reason they found out I was bisexual, it would confront them with their beliefs, and stuff like that would have to slowly rub off on their strong beliefs.
In Vietnam, there are quite a diverse group of religions, but I think there are two groups that have the sort of like the highest followers, Buddhism and Christianity. And actually, I'm Christian myself, but I don't really feel like there is a big influence from religions to how accepting Vietnamese people are to homosexuality. I'm very well aware that in some other countries, religion really play a big role in shaping people's opinions about homosexuality, especially with the Bible thingy. But then in Vietnam, I actually have never come across anyone or had any experience with anyone who gave me a negative reaction when knowing that I'm gay, just because of their belief for their religion. But I feel like Buddhism, especially Buddhism, is more than just a religion. It's more like it's a way of living, sort of say, and it guides you into becoming a kinder person, a more accepting person. So I feel like maybe because Buddhism is it's one of the biggest religions in Vietnam, one of the most important religions in Vietnam. I feel like Vietnamese people are very peaceful. We don't hate people for. We don't tend to hate people for who they are. I feel like.
Ik zeg zelf altijd, wees blij en met liefde in het leven en geef het weg. Dan krijg je ook van anderen die liefde weer terug. Zo kan een homoseksueel of een andere persoon die anders in het leven staat zich beter manifesteren in deze zware maatschappij. Maar ik voel niet een extra wrijving doordat christenen of niet-christenen, homoseksuelen, LHBT's samenkomen.
In Brazil right now, the situation for the LGBT people is very still tricky. It's not illegal, and the law officially protects some rights for the LGBT, and it's allowed to get married. So we have some legal freedom in Brazil, but in reality it's still very much repressing culture, and Brazil is the leading country of the murder of transsexuals, so it's a very complicated situation in practice.
So in my country, the general opinion of people about LGBT or homosexuality is that it is a bit of a taboo. People don't discuss it at dinner table, for example. You don't discuss it with your family, because in Vietnamese mindset, we just think anything to do with dating or anything to do with sex or with love are not like the popular topics to be talking with at dinner table with your parents, because I think it's just a bit of an awkward topic to talk about. So similarly for homosexuality.
In my country, which is Kenya, being gay or lesbian is illegal, and you could be sent to jail. I've heard stories of a lot of people who live in the more poor areas where they get beaten or something, and then they're sent to jail. Because it's a very traditional environment. It's not good to be openly gay. But people in my generation are now openly gay and lesbian and all of that, because our generation is more free, and it's definitely becoming more socially tolerated. Like, you won't be chased down the road for it or something. But yeah, it's not as easy as in the Netherlands, where you can just be quite open about this stuff. I've never felt discriminated, mostly because not a lot of people know. But even if people did know, I'm sure it would be completely fine. And the Netherlands is just free in general. I don't feel the need to hide it. I just don't make it obvious.
I do feel very happy for making a decision to come to the Netherlands or Amsterdam, to be specific, for multiple reasons. And one of the reasons is because of my sexuality. I feel very much comfortable being here, and I feel like it's quite easy to be myself here. There is quite a bright and positive future for the Vietnamese LGBT community, because already I think last year the law actually allows people to change their sex identity in their identification document. So at least it's already a big step for the transgender community in Vietnam.
I see the future of LGBT issues in Kenya as being definitely more accepted. So definitely, like, when my generation takes control of like the government and stuff, so they'll cool down on the laws against, you know, imprisoning people. So it will definitely be more socially acceptable to be part of the LGBT community.
I'm not sure when Vietnam is going to legalize same-sex marriage, but I think when we do, we will probably among the top 3 or 4 earliest countries in Asia to legalize same-sex marriage. For the last couple of years, I already see quite a big movement in the Vietnamese gay community. So far, we have already had like 3 or 4 gay prides, annual gay prides in big cities in Vietnam.
I would advise people who are struggling with either the culture, the family, or their regarding their sexuality, to find people who understand you, to find people who are from LGBT communities and people who are open and honest, and people who are... There are a lot of supporting groups, there are a lot of NGOs and a lot of people who you can reach and ask for questions, and even if it doesn't mean that you have to, you know, come out to do that. You can just find these people and they will be completely supportive and understanding, because they are. Everybody knows how it feels. I think this is the best you can do, and once you get more in contact to these people and you start understanding that no, you're not a freak and you're not that different, then it's easier to get the strength that you need to come out and to fight for your rights.
Eén ding is belangrijk. Zoek de mensen in je omgeving waar je mee kan praten. Als je in een omgeving zit en je worstelt met je geaardheid of hoe je in het leven staat, weet je, dat kan heel diep zijn. Het is belangrijk om mensen op te zoeken, want weet je, de media is groot. Je kunt opzoeken wat je wil. En soms is het moeilijk om met je familie erover te spreken of met je vrienden, want dat ligt te dichtbij. Dat kan soms heel pijnlijk zijn. Je mag zijn zoals je bent. Wees jezelf.
You just have to have a belief that it will get better. There are still a lot of people who understand what you're going through, who are also going through the same thing that you're going through, and there are people who have gone through what you are going through, and they have gone through it successfully. So there is really no reason why you couldn't do it, and you just have to find people in your community who support you, who understand you for who you are. There are always people like that in your community. You just have to be proactive. You have to reach out to those people, because keeping everything to yourself and hide your emotion and hide your struggle, eventually you will explode, because I know how tough it could be to to hide yourself and not being able to be your authentic self. So wherever you are, good luck with your journey, and yeah.